We're back. Happy Monday. Willie, it was a long weekend.
It was a long weekend. It was a great weekend. Listen, I almost watched Final X twice, maybe three times, because I watched it live. For the next 12 hours, I watched it in my head again. Just couldn't stop thinking about it, and then I really watched some of half the matches again on Flow. And shout out to Flow and USA Wrestling for an excellent production. It was Final X is awesome. It's an amazing experience. Great production. It's a couple shows ago I said how USA Wrestling, their presentations for events and basically their whole season is sort of a hodgepodge and not done right. Final X is done right. Final X is awesome.
It was. Yeah, no, they did a good job with it. It was a long day, man. I got to the arena early at 9 a.m. Then I flew home. Second it was over, I jetted over to JFK. And so I was at the arena 10, 11 hours. It was a long one.
Really?
What?
Really? You're just going to say casually, I went to JFK.
JFK?
Bash calls me from JFK. He's like, Willie, have you been here? I'm like, yeah. He's like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. I'm like, JFK Airport. And he's like, yeah.
I don't go in big terminals. I'm always flying Rochester to Tampa or Buffalo to Vegas. I don't really fly a lot of big terminals. And I was in the Delta terminal, I think it was Terminal 4. And right away, I'm like, oh, this isn't Rochester, Buffalo. This is a proper airport. I walk in and I did not eat a thing there basically all day. And I walk into JFK and there's the Centurion Lounge, the American Express Centurion Lounge. I walk in, buffet. Here's a glass of wine. Here's some food. I'm like, this is perfect. Then I went shopping, got my kids some gifts. I even got a massage. I got a massage at the airport. Because I went there as soon as it ended, and my flight wasn't until 11, so I had a couple hours to kill. And I saw this place that's high tension, stress, travel massages. Incredible. Yeah. And I'm like, and there's so many, you can go to the Palm Grill and Restaurant, you can
go to a lot of places. There's a lot of things.
Compared to you go to the Buffalo airport and it's here's Anchor Bar. Have a dozen wings and get on your flight and see ya.
No, the big ones are freaking malls, JFK, Minneapolis is crazy. But okay, yeah. So you really love JFK.
I did. Awesome. Terminal 4. So much.
What did you think about before we get into the actual wrestling? So what we're going to talk about today is Final X, and we'll talk about some of the other stuff that went around it with Skylar Grote lost, and there was. There's a whole thing there. Kyle Snyder won, and we're going to talk about that. He didn't do any media, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. So Final X plus some side stuff. We're going to talk about a little bit about Real American Freestyle at the end too, and some comments that were made online. But before we get to that, what did you think about the crowd? Because I thought it was great. I thought my memory wasn't too good, I guess, because I thought it was a bigger crowd than the last time I was at the Prudential Center. But we looked at old pictures, and there was clearly more last time around. That being said, I thought it was well attended. I thought it was great, man, and I thought the fans were super engaged and super knowledgeable. It was among the most knowledgeable wrestling crowds I've ever been around.
Yeah, it was definitely a smaller crowd. Behind, so you have the two mats, and on the one side of the mat, you have all the head tables. You have media, USA Wrestling. I guess not really any media there this year. Those head tables were really just basically USA Wrestling. And so behind that was all blacked off. There was no seats back there. And looking back at the photos last time around, there was. So I'm assuming, now there was also floor seating, and last time it was 3 mats, this time it was only 2 mats, so it was a little bit of different setup. But I thought who was there, it was actually a great crowd. They they got so into it, and there wasn't a lot of like negativity. Like there wasn't much booing for people, but there was a lot of like
No.
Duke and Yianni's match, Wyatt and Hilger's second match. Like Wyatt and Hilger's match, that crowd was nuts, and I feel like it was amplified because where you and I were sitting was in the back left corner of the men's freestyle mat. And it's exactly where everybody walked off after their match.
Yeah.
And
that was
all
cool.
the kids, all the little kids started realizing that. And so the minute those wrestlers, win or lose, get off the mat and start their walk towards the corner where we were at, all the kids flocked to that area to ask for autographs. And so I feel
Some
like
kid asked me for my media badge. They were rabid.
there was, yeah, those kids were relentless. There was a couple kids asking security like funny things, like, "Do you care if I run to the mat real quick? I just really want to get his autograph." Like,
Yeah.
they were just not holding anything back. But I feel like we got like the true crowd experience because we were in a good spot to take in a little bit of everything, including all the kids going nuts. And so I thought the crowd was good. It was definitely, I don't know what the number was. I haven't
don't
seen
know.
it yet, but I
thought
definitely think it was
I thought it was
smaller.
a win. I thought it was a win for wrestling. I thought it was really good. Whether or not it was bigger than last time, it was what it should be, and that's a celebration of the top wrestlers in the country making world teams and people being there for it.
Yeah, and honestly, you didn't have Elor there. You didn't have Vito and Jax there. So you kind of, we lost, 4 matches minimum by not having those 3 there.
That's another thing. So I was going to save that. I was going to save that as one of our sidebar stuff after we talk about the actual results. But let me say real quick, they need to get rid of it. They need to get rid of that delayed wrestle-off. They need to get rid of the delayed wrestle-off. Listen, in every walk of life, I don't care if it's applying for college, there's a deadline. Applying for a job, a deadline. There's deadlines all over the place. There's deadlines for the Super Bowl. If Saquon Barkley isn't healthy for the Super Bowl, they don't postpone it. So it's once in a while, it's going to be unfortunate if a guy has a legitimate injury, and that's the way the cookie crumbles, man. There has to be a hard deadline. You cannot have a celebration and a world team trials and 9 of 10, and they're going to do it in Fargo. I mean, come on, right? And even it doesn't even matter where they do it. A one-off match like the Zayn and Yianni thing, I guess that was a little different, but they're going to be a hard deadline. And the slippery slope too. I mean, if you think about it, if you think about how rules always get bastardized. I mean, there could be like 8,000 people in the arena, and you could have 3 guys. You could have 3, 4, 5 guys delay their wrestle-offs. I mean, I'm not saying that that's likely, but I'm saying there's a potential problem there if they don't nip that in the bud.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't fault Vito, and I don't fault the guys who take it because it's there. But at the same time, and listen, I've said on this podcast, wrestlers have said on this podcast 100 times, so much of wrestling is health and timing. Whether it's trials, whether it's the world championships, whether it's NCAAs,
yeah, I mean, Soriano had COVID for the Olympic trials, right? I mean, I understand he wasn't a returning world medalist, but listen, you can't do it for the Olympic trials anyway. It doesn't matter if you're returning. So they need to fix it, and
by the way,
it's probably only going to be 0 or 1 guy max a year, but there lies the possibility to miss multiple matches, which would be just terrible for Final X.
Yeah, and I'll also say too, on the same note of delayed wrestle-offs, after we did our preview, the lore came out and said, "I'm pulling out of Final X. Discovered I think she said she was anemic and she's had some issues at the World Team Trials, which was her first time back to the mat in like 10 months since the Olympics. And right away, it was a bummer because Sky lost in the finals of the Open and lost in the finals of the World Team Trials. And it's like, why are we not having a best of 3 wrestle-off? And I said Sky right away because of the fact that she lost to both of the finalists in the finals.
Right? She wrestled 2 tournaments. She wrestled 2 tournaments. She lost twice. She lost in the finals of both, only to the 2 that were in Final X.
Correct.
And so, I knew right away when Amit pulled out that there's nothing in the rules that says somebody else is going to go to Final X. Alex is going to get the spot, and deservedly so. However, if there were to be a candidate to be moved up, the only logical choice was Skylar, and people saying otherwise are like crazy. There's nobody else.
She lost at Final X, which was unfortunate.
And people took that as a reason to say, "Ooh, see, I told you so." But that's 2 different conversations. Going into Final X, the results had dictated if there was one person to face Alex, it was Skylar, and there's no other question.
And I do think like we need to make something in the rules that's like, if a Final X opponent drops out, the person X, Y, and Z will step in as the Final X alternate.
Well, perhaps, however, yeah.
I feel like we should always have a best of 3 series to make the team. You shouldn't get the team because of an injury, And I understand, like, at least make it to like 3 days before Final X, 4 days, a week, something. Like, I understand back, when was it, 2 years ago, when Jaden tried giving it a go, he couldn't weigh in, and Snyder won via forfeit. I get that. There's nothing you can do if a wrestler is going to kind of game it in that way, or be like, let me try to weigh in. Like, at that point, yes. But up until like a week, whatever the day is, 4 days, 5 days, I don't care. That can be determined.
It should be the person that lost at the challenge tournament.
Yeah.
If one of the 2 can't go, the person that lost in the challenge tournament finals should go. Maybe. I mean, if they're gonna, I don't even know if I agree with that, but if they do it, that's who should go. Speaking of, somebody on Twitter was like complaining about us doing best of 3 and saying that's an American thing and they don't do that in other countries. Like, America's been doing that.
What's wrong with the best of 3 series?
What's wrong with a best of 3 in proving it resoundingly?
Number one.
Number 2, we've been doing best of 3. We've been doing best of 3 forever. We've been doing multi-stage. The trials have been a multi-stage process since, I don't know, forever. It's been best of 3 for like 30 years. And we're having the best results, as good or better results than we ever had. So I don't know. I don't know what the complaint is about.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. You want to do 2/3? Are we doing 2/3 as well?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of at least some nuggets there from True Thirds.
Yeah. Okay, go with it.
So, first off, Liam Cronin takes out Nico Provo 10-3. He was pretty fired up getting that win, and he looked great. Liam gets the win there, makes the national team. 65 kilos may be the most interesting match because you have Marcus Blaze, a high schooler, up about 10 pounds from where he normally wrestles, beats the reigning NCAA finalist Brock Hardy 8-2. And here, you had said on the show a couple weeks ago about how Hardy, 65 is temporary. This really isn't a thing at 65. But he still competed. He still made a senior national team as a high schooler. And Brock Hardy is a solid opponent to beat to make that national team. So I thought Blaze looked awesome. I thought that was a huge win for him.
It was an enormous win, and he looked really. I mean, Marcus has had some big wins over college guys, over senior level guys, but he's not all that flashy. Here, I thought he was visibly impressive, right? There's one thing in winning a match against a good guy, awesome. And there's another thing in like looking like incredible, and Marcus looked incredible in this match. I do think that it's a good matchup for Marcus. Brock Hardy wrestles. Brock Hardy wrestles you, you know? And so I think sometimes when Marcus has those gritty, sort of ugly 3-2 wins, it might be a little bit of a product of guys being conservative against him. But Brock wrestles a lot, so it gives Marcus opportunities. But you know, he looked incredible.
Yep. And then Ian Parker took out Bryce Andoni in 7-4 to make the national team. 74 kilos, Jared Jacques beats Joey Blaze 6-3. Joey Blaze was in the hunt to be Purdue's first ever national team member. But Jarrett got it done there. And then Carter Starachi beats Parker Kekkaisen again 4-3. And it was kind of how the other matches, I feel, have gone. You know, Carter got a takedown in the first period, and it was, I believe, 4-0 at the break. And then Parker got a couple passivity or step-out points late in the second and kind of closed in on that. But, you know, Carter looked good, got the 4-3 win, and that's what, like 3-4 wins in a row now against him. He looked good.
Yep. So thinking about this, Cronin's probably too old. Marcus is not too old. He will have the first right of refusal for U23, correct?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, because Joey's too old too. I guess Joey Blaze can't, right?
I don't think he gets first right. Yeah, I don't think so.
All right. So that's that. All right, let's go to the finals.
Let's talk finals. Final X. Where do you want to start? Men's freestyle, run through the order they went in?
Yeah, we'll just do it the order they went in.
All right. First up was Mitchell Mesenbrink versus David Carr. David Carr wins the series 2-0 and got a 4-3 win and a 4-4 win, and I thought Carr looked awesome. I do think Mesenbrink looked a little flat, and it was uncharacteristic for him because he's got such an incredible pace and a gas tank that just never quits, and he definitely looked a little flat this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not. I don't want to take anything away from David Carr because David Carr has beaten Mitchell before. It was just odd seeing Mitchell, who is one of the most active guys on the planet, looking flat early. Really, I mean, how many times has it can't be often that Mitchell Mesenbrink scored 4 points in a match. I mean, that guy puts up double digits all the time. But he just didn't get started ever. That being said, David is a great rep. I'm really excited for David making his first senior team. And he's going to be around for a long time. And I certainly think he can win matches at the senior level.
He looked awesome.
At Senior Worlds.
He made adjustments after their match. You know, the pick going into it was, it's like, well, Mesenbrink, look what he just did to him. And Carr made adjustments, incredible adjustments. He worked with Burroughs for a couple weeks in Philly leading up to it.
You see, he went over right after he won. He went over JB, shook his hand, and like celebrated a little bit. He was in Philly for a little while working with him in the lead up.
Yeah, and then he was there yesterday too. He's still in Philly with him.
Is he really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I sat down with his dad. I stayed at a hotel where a ton of the wrestlers were, a ton of USA Wrestling people, and his dad and mom were there, and I sat down and had a cup of coffee with them and talked to him the night before, and I'm happy for that family. They're good people, man.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see what David does at the World Championships. And, you know, I love the depth that we have, like Mesenbrink and Carr, even next year. You know, It's going to be another battle. Like Mesenbrink's going to get better. David Carr's going to continue to get better. There's other guys at the weight. Like it's such a, it's fun. I made the graphic last night or Saturday night that this is the first team since 2010 with no Burrows, Dake, or Taylor. And like to that end, it's the end of that era. Like those three guys, whether it's Burrows keeping them off the team and then Dake keeping Burrows off the team and David going up, and like that threesome of guys, it's been such an incredible era where they have so many medals and so much success. And now it's like, I'm glad that, sometimes when you see guys step away like that or move to the weight class, whatever it is, like you don't have that same excitement. And Carr and Mesenbrink are going to give us that excitement, and other guys are going to step in there as well. But watching those guys battle it out, it's going to be fun for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, both young. They should be in the hunt for 74 for a long time. Next up was Evan Wick and Levi Haines, right?
Yep, Levi Haines teched Wick 10-0 in the first period or the first round, and then it was in the first period too, I think, and then beat him 6-1 in the next one. And
Levi looked freaking amazing.
Levi just he's a hoss. He's a hoss.
He's a big boy.
He looks so solid, and it's like it's kind of funny because wrestling fans have a tendency to look ahead right away. And when you start looking ahead, and I look at like 79 kilos, I fully believe that Levi will medal at the World Championships. I think he's so strong. He's so sound. He's got great coaches. I like Levi to medal this year. And it kind of, we'll talk about it as we go on, but it's like, Dake has now lost 3 in a row to Zahid. You got to wonder, does he come back down to 79? And at the same time, Jordan has said now a couple times in the past week, I am not retired. So you got to wonder if Jordan's back. I got to believe he's back at 79 kilos. So it's like, is there a shot where we have, I just mentioned that these guys, it's a new era, first time since 2010 without those guys in the team. Is there a shot we see a Dake versus Burrows at 79 next year? Like, If Burrows isn't retired and Dake does decide to come down, like I think Dake will stay up. We'll talk about that when we get to Dake, but yeah, it is funny to look ahead of what the dynamics could look like.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not into speculating what Jordan or Dake are gonna do because there isn't gonna be any clarity on it forever. So we'll see. I'll wrap my brain around that when we get there. But as of now, I mean, Levi, and I don't know what he'll do in Olympic years, but as far as 79, I think Levi is a perfect size 79.
Yep.
And even if the Olympic year doesn't go right for him, I can see him at 79 for a long time being the guy winning the spot for the foreseeable future. Now, there's certainly other guys, and even beyond Wick and Dake and JB. I mean, is Keegan O'Toole going to be there? And there's certainly a lot of other young pups, but Levi was really damn impressive.
Yeah, he looked awesome.
Levi's also super young. Like,
yeah. Levi never took a red shirt. Like, he's going to be a very young senior this year in a world where we've seen nothing but 5th, 6th, 7th year seniors.
And I believe he was a young senior in high school. So he's on the younger end when he graduated high school. He never took a red shirt. He's super young as a college senior in today's standards. And so what I'm getting at is Levi's not long. He's going to be here for a while.
Yeah.
Wyatt Hendrickson beats Trent Hilger, and he goes out there and he techs him pretty dang quickly in the first period in round one. And you're thinking, ho hum, wash your hands of it. This is Wyatt Hendrickson all day. And then the second match was bonkers. 20-14, the big boys put up 34 combined points. Hilger had a lead at a couple junctures. I thought Hilger looked great and small, by the way. He's not big. But Hilger's been training with Gable, training in the Gopher room, who always has great heavyweight coaching and heavyweight partners. And Wyatt's Wyatt, but Hilger was game.
Yeah, Hilger came out there in the second, in that second round, and just said, "I'm gonna let it fly. I'm gonna let it fly," and they did. And it was the first time we've seen somebody in a very long time really bring it to Wyatt, where, Hilger got a couple of 5s and 4s. Like, he absolutely brought it to him. And, it's one of those things where I feel like as soon as that happened, we see. Well, now I'm not as high on him for Worlds. I'm still very bullish on him for what he can do at Worlds.
I am too. The only thing is, the world level guys are monsters, and Hilger's
I
not.
agree.
And so, I don't know.
But when Wyatt,
it really did. I was a little bit more confident. That match scares me a little bit, but it could be just one match. In the first period, in the first match, Wyatt did Wyatt things. I'm like, yeah, baby, he's gonna kick some ass at Worlds. In the second match, seeing him get scored on that much, I'm like, man, I don't know what this looks like when he's wrestling Zare and some of these. But
no, but like I was talking to Bashada about it, and it's like, number one, I do think like David Taylor's a very good coach, and they're going to analyze what happened there, and they're going to work on that for the next 3, 4, 5 months, whatever it is. But what I was saying to Bashada is like, Wyatt has been so dominant this year that all of a sudden we act like this is the first time it happened, or like Wyatt has had a history of giving up a lot of points. Like at the Olympic trials last year, Kirk teched him 11-0, and Don Bradley beat him 12-8. Like, people have put up points on him. Mason Parrish beat him 12-11 the year before.
Well, yeah, he's very active too, right? He's always. Wyatt's one of those heavyweights that's always looking to score. He puts up the most points at any freaking heavyweight, and so sometimes when you do that, you get out of position and give up some scores.
And I also think I think. My thought is, after beating him 10-0, I think he had a lot of confidence that I really don't care how many points Hilger will score. I'm going to score 2 for every one he does. So I don't think he went into that match like, I think if he wrestles Zari, he's going to go into that match a little bit different.
Well, honestly, I'm kind of contradicting myself, but that's how guys should wrestle. Guys should wrestle like everybody should wrestle. That I'm the better guy, and if I let it fly, sure, I'm going to give up some points, but I'm going to score more than that guy. That's how everybody should wrestle. Yeah. And so while I'm being a little critical, I don't know, it scares me that he gave up some points. That's what you like to see, and you like your guys to have confidence in their own abilities.
100%.
All right, Trent Hidlay, Josh Barr. Hidlay winning in 2 straight, 6-1 and 3-2. Trent, in the first match in particular, he really used that underhook and pressure, and I think maybe a little bit of man strength to move Josh around the mat a little bit. I think that was the key to match 1. When Trent was able to get to his underhook, he was pushing, got him to the edge a couple times, and then would go knee pick or something to that effect. And that was a difference in match 1, 6-1. Match 2, a little tighter, 3-2.
And it got chippy.
Yeah. And Barr almost scored, didn't. He looked really bummed about it. And then, of course, let's get to the clock expires, and Trent goes like this, Josh goes like this. They shake hands, and then Josh goes to his corner and goes away, and he doesn't officially shake hands at the end, and people are whining about it. It's like the least important thing in the world.
He came out and tweeted right after. He apologized. He's like, listen, my emotions got the best of me. I wasn't intending to avoid shaking hands with him. This is like it happens. These kids are 20 years old. Like I saw somebody
But he
else
did
tweet.
shake hands. I mean, it's like, who
Yeah,
cares?
yeah. I don't
Who
know. I
cares? He
don't.
just had his dreams crushed. Uh, I mean, really? This is what we're talking about. There's riots in LA. There's bombs going off in the
There's
Middle
also
East.
like I feel like there's an
And we're
aspect of
worried
like
about Josh Barr shaking hands at a particular period of time. Give me a break.
I feel like also like Trent was antagonizing to the extent of like he's saying like get back here right now, like
He
to the
was
center,
being a
and he's
showman.
clapping and like look at Trent. That's how Trent has always been. Like Trent has very high energy, and he's always going to bring it. And if sometimes
I don't blame Trent. I mean, he was
I don't
excited.
either.
He was cheering. He was chippy. He was putting on a show. He was pumped up. He made it. He kind of baited the fans into booing, and he made the fans
100%. Listen, when
right.
you
I don't care. I loved it, but I don't blame Trent, and I don't blame Josh either.
100%. And it's like, the fans, there's a microscope on Penn State that when a Penn State wrestler does something, it's amplified more. And that's just the reality of it. You can deny it if you want. It's the reality of what happens when Penn State wrestlers do anything. And look at it. I said this yesterday. Like, Barr's my guy. I'm bummed for him. He was right there. I mean, the second match was 3-2, and it was like down to the wire. I'm also happy for Trent. Like, Trent has been a guy, I've talked about this for the past year or so, like he's been on the cusp of a breakout, and now he got it, and he broke through, and he's pumped, and he made a world team, and I think that's awesome for Trent.
Another guy, I think, perfect weight for him. And we've been taking a look at the future while we're doing this. We're taking a look at the future, and it's another one where Trent could be the guy for quite a while. I mean, Barr's not going anywhere either, but Trent is the new man at 92.
Yeah, no, for sure. And a lot of these guys too, like Mesenbrink, I believe Barr, like these guys are U23 eligible, and I know some of them want to go on that team. So I don't think it's the last we're seeing of Barr this summer.
Yeah, and I think Barr will go, right?
Yeah, it sounds like that's the plan right now.
I mean, Penn State's going to have a lot of guys on that team. Sounds like PJ wants to do everything. Rocco's on that team. Luke can be on that team. Marcus can be on that team. Josh can be on that team. So, all right, Kyle Snyder, Hayden Zillmer. Kyle Snyder back in effect. 8-0 in the first match, 8-2 in the second. Not much really in the way of, I don't know, technique to talk about. It was very workmanlike, Kyle Snyder kind of performance. I did think he looked a little smaller than usual, but maybe it's because Zillmer's so big. I don't know. I thought Kyle's physique was a little less than it typically is, but maybe that's because Zillmer's a monster.
I thought it was because, we don't really see Snyder go up against heavyweights. And Zillmer is a former world teamer at heavyweight, and he came down, and Zillmer's as jacked as they come. So I think, Snyder always looks a little bit smaller than his opponents. He's not the biggest 97-kilo guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he typically looks pretty jacked, but Zillmer made him look small. The biggest. I said as soon as the Kyle Snyder news came out that he got in trouble, I said the best thing for Kyle, if he's eligible, is to come back and wrestle as soon as possible, because he's going to have to come back at some point. If he doesn't come back now, and he comes back in 6 months, he's still going to have his first appearance. Might as well get it out of the way now. And get it out of the way and wrestle at Worlds. And he did that, and I'm glad he did. But the interesting thing was every wrestler came back the same way. They came off the mat, all the winners and the losers too, came back the same way in the tunnel, past the mix zone for media, past all those kids, and Kyle did not. I was over there for a bunch of them, not all of them, but when Kyle won, I wanted to see the reaction. I wanted to hear what he had to say, and Bader was like, I was standing with Bader, and he was like, well, "This should be interesting, huh?" And I'm like, "Kyle," he's like, "Yeah," and so we're like sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting, and I'm like, "Dude, he ain't coming. He ain't coming this way. He's gone. He's not here." So he didn't come that way, and he avoided the media, which I get, but again, in the same vein, he's going to have to talk at some point, and if I was him, and I'm not blaming, I'm just being a quarterback here. I'm not.
We also don't know whose call that was. We don't know if that was USA Wrestling saying we're not going to even open this can of worms of questioning.
Yeah.
Or it could be the NLWC. It's very clear not Snyder, because wrestlers don't typically have a choice. They come and grab a wrestler. They take they walk them through. Like you go in the back. You stand in front of the thing. You answer questions, and then Justin Hoach has a thing set up there to do portraits right after, and like it's a whole process. And it's not usually, if this was easy to just say the wrestlers opting out, Penn State would have probably half the wrestlers opting out, because Cal's notoriously at like NCAAs and stuff, like doesn't really like interviews of guys in between rounds and this and that. So I would be surprised if this wasn't straight from USA Wrestling.
I don't know. Whatever. I mean, it is true. That's a good footnote that we don't know whose decision or whose call that was. But in the same vein, he's going to have to answer questions at some point. And he might as well have gotten it done. And when I say they, if it was somebody else's call, they should have just let him go anyway. Like, he could have just said, it's good to be back. My first time back, I was a little nervous and had some anxiety, but all I have to say is it's between me and the ones I love, and we're working on it. And yeah, I'm excited for
PR Willie.
I'm excited for Worlds. I mean, they had a month to come up with a plan. Hey, what are we going to say when Kyle wins? What is he going to do for the media? Do what I just said. It's not difficult. I mean, it's not complicated. Right?
PR Willie.
That's what I would. I mean, so all he's doing is delaying it till the next time he's supposed to be interviewed.
After World Championships in September, when it's 5 months removed?
Yeah, I don't know. I would have got it out of the way. I mean, whatever. Anyway, 11th straight team. Incredible.
Crazy. He's never, every team since 2015.
When he won it.
Yeah. Bananas.
When he won it. All right, 65 kilograms. Joey McKenna versus Real Woods. In my opinion, it was the most difficult match to handicap coming in, and it was nip and tuck both ways, both matches, although Real Woods wins in 2, 7-3 and 5-4, and you could kind of say that in the first one, Joey kind of let it get away, I think. And then the second one, Real hit a 4 early and then held on for a 5-4 win. I think it was actually 4-4 with a point for a challenge at a YOLO challenge at the end. But really nip and tuck, and it was funny because Fellers is buddies with Izzy and obviously the Iowa lean, and Real goes up 4-0. He hits a 4, and Fellers says in our group chat, he can't coast. You got to keep scoring. And then Real didn't score another point, and he won, and Fellers was like, I guess he could. Which it's not how you draw it up, but really, really happy for Real Woods. I think McKenna, is very much more seasoned. That being said, I think Real is the first time in his life that he's dedicated to freestyle training. So I think the jumps he can make in 3 months are greater than the jumps that Joey could. So I'm excited about Real's prospects.
Yeah, me too. And Real is now 1-0 and trying to make a world team, which is kind of crazy. And you know, Spencer Lee, who is not the most vocal on social media, he went right out there saying, I told y'all 2 years ago that Real Woods is disgustingly good in freestyle and watch out for this guy. And he circled right back to that right after. Like, you can tell how excited he is. And I love to see that because, Spencer's like, sometimes when a guy leaves the get done college and they go to another club and the former teammates sometimes don't care as much. Spencer was right there, like not only rooting for him and cheering for him, but super excited that came to fruition. So I'm excited. Real Woods absolutely brought it to Amuzad earlier this year in a ranking series. And he had problems closing out the match, like the second period. But that first period, he looked awesome. And, going into this weekend, the big thing for both of these guys really was who's going to be able to close these matches out, because they both sometimes let matches go late. And Real seemed to make adjustments. He didn't give up points late. He looked great. I'm happy for him. Excited to see what he can do. 65 kilos, 70 kilos, like those are very strong weights internationally where the U.S. has typically not been the best. So going to see what adjustments Real can make this summer and see what he can do at the World Championships.
Yeah, new guy at 65 for us. A lot of veterans out of the mix this year. But real fresh. And you're right, his international results this spring were encouraging. To me, he's been a surprise, and I think his trajectory is pointing up. Some of our guys that try to make teams, we know who they are. They've kind of, I don't want to say plateaued, but I don't know. For a guy that's already graduated college, most of the time we know what they are by that point. Real, I think, is a guy whose arrow's way up.
Yep.
All right, let's do Yianni PJ, Bash. Break it down.
Man, this so funny, like being there and you get a little bit of everything. Like we had Mike Gray with us for a few minutes. We were sitting next to PJ Duke's dad. Like you get you get a sense of both sides and how they're feeling. And Yianni comes out and 10-0's Duke. And right away, I tweeted out, like, what a dog. Yianni 10-0's PJ Duke. And initially, the reaction was like, well, of course he should. PJ's a high schooler. PJ's only a high schooler. Of course Yianni should win. And I'm like, guys, you're not giving Yianni enough respect here for how good PJ Duke is to go out and win 10-0. And then that second match happens, and Duke absolutely... The adjustments that Duke made, and shout out KD. KD has been on a heater lately, and KD in his corner, obviously they made some adjustments there from getting 10-0'd, and then you come out and you get a 17-10 win, and that place went nuts. That place went bananas.
Bananas. Everybody's jaw dropped. And I don't think I've ever seen a series where there were so many that was such a roller coaster. I mean, I was sitting, it's funny because I happen to be sitting right next to Peter Duke, the PJ's dad. And right behind me is the Cornell coaches and the Cornell fans and guys. So, through after the first match and halfway through the second, I'm saying to Mr. Duke, I'm like, hey, listen, I know this isn't probably what you want to hear, but Yianni looks like world championship material. I said, don't get down. I said I wouldn't be down if I were you. Yanni's doing incredible things. And and he was like, yeah, he looks great. He's like, I still think, but he was like, I still think PJ got a shot here, and even on the broadcast, like I didn't listen to it, but there's message boards posted like JB was saying how amazing Yianni looks, and he looks like the best wrestler in the building, and bro, I don't think he's wrong. At the time that he said it, he wasn't wrong. Yianni looked freaking amazing.
And
The
I went
things
right
that
to
he
you.
was doing, the transitions he was doing, the attacks that he was putting together were incredible. To
And
me, it was a tale of two halves. I mean, it was a 18-minute series, right? For 10 of them, six, and yeah, about 10 minutes of it, Yianni looked in freaking incredible.
Yeah, and I had, after the first match, I had said to you, I'm like, see, Yianni at 70 kilos. Look at how strong he is. Look at how dominant he is. Like, this is 70 kilos Yianni. And then PJ Duke just.
And I say that the attacks that Yianni was putting together were incredible, and they were. But a couple things that PJ did were incredible too. And when he hit that drag from front head and then forward Yianni, the match changed.
Yeah.
The match completely changed. Yianni lost it. Yianni didn't know what to do. Throw a brick for what? Take a timeout for what? Yianni was clearly rattled. And I think he did recover. Now he goes on to lose the match. And I think he did recover because the start of the third bout, he was kind of in full control. Now, I mean, he wasn't dominating, but he was up like 3-0, right?
You can tell that when he came out for that third one, he was a lot more. He tried to slow it down a bit. Like, you could tell that after those first couple of matches, which, that first match, it's like if you would have thought any of these 9 matches were going 3 rounds, you would have never thought it was that one. After Yianni 10-0s.
And sure as hell after was for the first match.
Right. And then so in that third one.
And in the second match, he was up 9-2.
Yeah.
So at one point, Yianni outscored PJ 19-2.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know if he ever he did recover because in the third match he's up 2 or 3-0 in the second period. He holds PJ scoreless through the first period, and the thing that PJ hit, oh my god, I rewound that, watched it in slow motion 1,000 times. It was just incredible. He gets in on a single. Yianni whizzers. PJ picks up the ankle, kind of shelves it, and then he limp arms out and catches Yianni with a back hook in his armpit and then sticks him. I mean, just incredible stuff.
Yeah, and man,
it's not like a textbook move.
This is the first time in Yianni's entire career he was pinned, which is wild. Mm-hmm. And listen, it's one of those things too. It's like, I'm so bummed for Yianni. I think he'll be back, and I don't know about you, Willie, but I don't know if I'm curious if we'll see this again. If Duke comes back down to 70 next year, or when he'll make that move to 74, because 70 definitely seems like, for how big and strong he is, like it won't be long until he's up at 74. I'm curious.
I don't think so either.
So I'm really curious if we end up seeing this again.
I think we do at least one more year.
Yeah.
At least one more, I think. I mean, I think what PJ's plan is, if PJ had his choice, and it has to go through Kale and the staff and his teammates and everything, and what's the best course of action. But I think PJ prefers to wrestle this year, and that means 157. So if that means 157, I think he stays at 70 for another year because he's already down there. So what I would do, here's the easiest path. Here's the easiest path to keeping everybody happy and maximizing years of eligibility. PJ wrestles 157, Kasich red shirts, right? Next year, PJ red shirts and Kasich wrestles. The following year, PJ goes 65. Mesenbrink graduates. That's the easiest path, right? And maybe at that time, then, thereafter, which is it lines up perfectly when you're talking about 2027, the year before the Olympics, lines up perfectly for PJ to redshirt, or PJ to go 65, and PJ to go 74 kilograms the year before the Olympics. That's a pretty clear, sensible path for PJ Duke.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll say this too, because people are quick to point out when a wrestler, when they don't like sportsmanship, or this wrestler has poor sportsmanship. I thought Yianni did an awesome job coming out right away and saying, he was bummed, but he gave credit to PJ for wrestling his ass off. And, it's so, being in the back is so tough after matches like that, because you see one guy, and I'm so happy for Duke. I'm so happy for KD. I've been working with KD in his training center for a couple of years, and I'm very happy for KD. I'm happy for Duke. I'm also super bummed for Yianni. I also work with Yianni, and he literally grew up 10 minutes down the road from me. And you go in the back, we were mentioning where these guys all go to the same spot. One guy walks in front of the backdrop to give interviews. The other guy just keeps walking, and he's heartbroken and going back to basically the practice mats. It is brutal. A brutal weddings and funerals juxtaposition, but I thought Yianni handled it real well.
Not that it's about us or media or anything, but you feel really weird, right? Because you have a camera and not that this happened, this particular case, because I didn't go with PJ, but you follow him back, right? And there's a party right here, and there's a funeral over here.
Yeah. And
you have a camera, and you're filming the party, but the guy that lost, who you love, they see you filming the party, and you kind of feel like you're showing favoritism, but you're just covering it, and certainly.
And a lot of the wrestlers are very good with understanding. Some of them will break my balls for picking against them or something like that, but for the most part, they are very understanding, more so than I think I would be. I'd be like, screw you, you're against me. A lot of wrestlers do a great job of understanding how it works, where you got to cover the guy who wins. But I did think Yianni did an awesome job. I thought he came out right away. I'm always grateful in a world where we're quick to point out the lack of professionalism where there is, and when wrestlers lose and then they thank their sponsors. Yianni did it. Dake did it.
Dake did it.
What's that?
Dake.
Yeah, Dake, Yianni. These guys came out. They thanked their sponsors. They put something out. So I thought that was good. I like seeing that.
Spencer Lee, Luke Lillidahl. Spencer wins in 2 matches, 7-2 and 6-0. I thought Luke stayed in there pretty good, considering Spencer is Spencer and Luke's young, and Luke wasn't overwhelmed by Spencer, who pretty much overwhelms everybody. So,
Spencer kind of said it beforehand that Luke Lillidahl right now is pretty much in the same exact spot where Spencer was. It's almost like Spencer wrestled a 4 or 5 year older version of himself. because like he mentioned it in the interview with Flo beforehand. Like, here this guy has already had international age level success. He just had his first true freshman year in college. He took third at NCAAs. Like, he's got all the tools. But it's tougher when you have, like, Spencer Lee has that plus an additional 4 or 5 years of experience and success and building.
Yeah. I mean, I think coming into the match, realistic expectations were that Spencer was going to win. How good could Luke stay in there with him? That's what I think was expectations, and he stayed in there pretty good.
Yeah.
Spencer could. I mean, listen, Spencer could be the best in the world. He's probably the best in the world at the weight.
Yeah, I would say he's a favorite to make the finals again. I mean, here's an Olympic silver medalist, and especially at those lightweights where guys move around and stuff in the Olympic year, and to still get a silver medal at the Olympics and be right there, I think Spencer's going to be right back in the World Finals this year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think he's a favorite. So, yeah. Zahid and Kyle Dake, and Zahid wins it in 2 matches, 5-3 and 4-1. And, they weren't blowout wins, but Zahid kind of dominated. I mean, Dake really didn't threaten.
No. Yeah, Zahid really just shut down Dake's offense. And Dake's by nature isn't the most offensive guy. But Dake is so strong that sometimes his defense is absolutely incredible. So if he can keep a match close, his gas tank's always been so good that towards the end of the match, he can get a quick takedown, even the score, win on criteria. Like, he's not the guy who's going to go out and score 20 points, but he's the guy who's going to go out consistently and win. And Zahid just completely shut him down. And there were questions of, like, where would Zahid's gas tank be? Could he finish the match how he starts? I mean, he comes out like a lightning bolt. And then, he held on. And never at any point in those 2 matches, I don't think Dake ever had the advantage. Zahid, for those entire 12 minutes, looked like he was winning.
Yeah. I mean, it looked like there was a gap between them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, really interesting.
I don't know how much of it is. I saw Sakobu. He made a good comment that I thought was smart. About.
He's a smart guy.
Well, what he said was Dake needs another 2-3 months for his cardio to catch up with carrying the extra weight. And I think that makes sense. Like, I as soon as I saw that, I'm like, typically when you have a guy go up in weight, like, it does take some time catching up. And, you think about when Taylor went up to 86, how it took some time to build up everything. And Dake isn't just going up one weight. He went up 2. He was at 74 last year, and now he's going up 2 weight classes.
I think Dake's fully aware of that. I think that's why he started 86. A lot of people say, why don't you go 79? Why don't you go 79? Because his goal isn't world medals, it's LA. And whether that would be your choice, if you're Kyle Dake, would you go 79, try to make the team, try to win a world medal? If that's what you would do, that's fine. But that's not what Kyle Dake wants. That's not what Kyle Dake's goal is. His goal is LA. And to get that big and to get up there and right what Sacco said, it's going to take adjustment and time. So he's committed to that, I think. And there's a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking now. Like, all right, Dake saw what he is. He should go back to 79 and then play with 86 down the road. I don't think that's what Kyle will do.
Yeah, I don't think he'll go back down because, like you said, so much of what Dake wants right now is win the Olympic gold in 2028. And I don't think going down to 79 for a year does much for him. So as much as I think it might be the right move for him, I understand why he's likely just going to stay up at 86. I think he'll rather take the time and fill in, thinking the long term than. And by the way, like, even though Zahid dominated him, there were still close matches, close in score, like 5-3 and 4-1. So it's not like he got beat 8-1 or something. Like he's not even close. So I think he stays at 86. I do.
Yeah, I do too. And that was the men's team, with the exception of Jax Forrest and who am I thinking of?
Vito
Jax
Araujo.
Forrest and Vito, who will be at Fargo in a couple weeks, about a month. Let's go to the women. No, Elor, sadly, we talked about that a little bit at the top. She was having a little bit of recovery issues, found out she was anemic. So we, obviously wish her the best. So only, just like the men, only 9 matches here as well. Christelle Rodriguez and Everett Leidecker was the first women's match, 55 kilograms. Christelle Rodriguez in 2 matches, 12-8 and 8-5. But I'll tell you what, Leidecker, who's still in high school.
Your tweet
still
was
in high school.
Your tweet was funny. You tweeted out that she's amazing.
She's amazing.
And then she loses 2 in a row, but it doesn't negate, like, she is amazing. Like, she's a very good wrestler.
I tweeted, I mean, I know it probably came off looking stupid, but I tweeted after she lost. The match was over. She had lost already when I tweeted it. I mean, but still, she's freaking amazing. She's in high school. Mm-hmm. So looking, she's going to be good for a long time. This one kind of surprised me, although, Frank, I don't know if it should have surprised me, but Hidalgo beat Miracle 2 matches to 1. 14-8, then Miracle won 4-3, then Hidalgo won the third one 8-4. So Hidalgo, I mean, takes out Miracle, who's been a staple. I mean, she's a veteran, right? World medalist, and hell, she gave the best girls in the Olympics last year a run for their money. I thought Kayla looked great. But she gets beat. Hidalgo.
And she's only 22 years old. Like, I think she's going to be around for a while. And you have Kayla, who's on the other side of, I'd say, getting close to wrapping up her career. I mean, I think she took a position as a teacher. So, I don't know what her future looks like. I don't think she's done yet. But, you're talking about a young and up-and-coming star at 22 years old, who I think is going to be around for a while.
Yeah, for sure. 53 kilograms, Felicity Taylor over Brianna Gonzalez, 2 in a row. That was 2-1 and 6-4. Felicity Taylor of Iowa. Great girl. Great family, too. 59. Abigail Nettie won the first one over Jakara Winchester, who's up a couple weights, but then Winchester wins match 2 and 3, 9-7, and then by tech. So Jakara Winchester back on the team, up a couple weights from a couple years ago. Macy Kilty in 2 over Ann Drury. That was tech for Macy. Kylie Edge Diamond Gilliford, 2-1, and then beat her pretty soundly, 9-1 in match 2. Another Iowa Lady Hawkeye making the team. Our girl Audrey Jimenez in 2 straight at 50 kilograms, 10-2 over Aaron Golston, and then Tech 12-2 over Aaron Golston. So
Audrey's so damn good. I had Roman Bravo Young back on the podcast on Friday, and he talked a bit about her and Sergio Vega and Sunnyside. So good interview with Roman. Go back and listen to that too. He said, I think Audrey's going to be a world champ. I don't doubt that one bit. She's so good.
I don't know if it's, this year. She's still super young, but she's going to be our 50 for a while, I think.
Yeah.
Kennedy Blades over Brooklyn Hayes, another young buck. Brooklyn Hayes, Blades winner 10-4 and 5-2, and Kennedy Blades is back on the team, down a weight. Some of the girls up top flip-flopping weights. 57 kilograms, Helen Maroulis, 15th team.
The queen.
15th team.
The queen of wrestling. I mean, and she briefly retired in 2019. She had concussion issues. Like it is crazy when you talk Dake and Burroughs and Taylor and Snyder and longevity. Helen just tied Bruce Baumgartner for number of world and Olympic teams. When you think about the context of what Helen has done, like she is the queen of wrestling. She's just, yeah.
Did she make it in 12?
I don't.
She on the Olympic team in 12.
I don't think was women's wrestling in there in 12. Was that the first year?
Yeah, it was in there.
I think she won her first Olympic gold in 2016. I can't remember 2012.
Yeah, no, she won it, and no, she won it. She won Olympic gold in. Oh, that's 2016. 2012. 2012. No, I guess it wasn't in the Olympics. I don't know. There was World Championships that she lost in the finals, though.
She won a silver in the non-Olympic Worlds in 2012.
Mm-hmm. She lost to Yoshida.
Yeah.
And then beat her 4 years later.
And it's crazy that this is crazy. Helen's only 33.
What the?
She's made 15 teams. She's only 33. She can very easily, at this pace, stick around till LA 2028 and go to her 4th Olympic Games. And she's already a 3-time Olympic medalist. Bronze, and gold.
I mean, very frankly, she's the most technically skilled women's wrestler I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Okay, what's next? Nothing's next.
No, we got to get to the page break. Then, well, we got two different areas we can go. We can go Real American. I know you want to talk about some critiques. We can also talk about a couple NCAA items. Do a little house cleaning.
What's up with what NCAA?
Well, we didn't touch on news that broke, I think, over the weekend. Steve Poulin to Iowa State after the departure of Troy Nickerson, which kind of alluded to that, I think, last week on the show. But Troy Nickerson confirmed Army West Point, which opens up the 30-day transfer window for your athletes. If your head coach takes another job, or you have a 30-day period, you can transfer. And just like that, Poulin transferred to Iowa State, and hearing there might be another one.
Yeah, it sounds like Zurbin's looking around. And, I mean, frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if there's more. However, maybe some of the kids might wait to see who the new coach is. And that is a great segue because it'll be interesting to see who applies for Northern Colorado. You know, it's a mid-major program. But I think there's some things you could do there. I mean, Nickerson had a good tenure there. And I always say that Colorado is way underrated in terms of high school wrestling talent. They produce guys. And so if you can recruit in state, well, you can have a firm base. And so I think there's opportunity there for sure. I'm interested to see who applies.
And then, was there anything else on the NCAA front? Maybe that was just it.
Yeah. Josh Moore got the Kent State job, which we knew was happening.
Yeah, Cleveland State. They're still fighting. I'm pretty sure like lawmakers are passing a law about trying to. They're still fighting for Cleveland State. So I don't know what they're gonna do if somehow that ends up. If they end up somehow.
I know, right? I know. Part of me wonders if Josh prefers to be at Kent State. Is it any indication that Josh left so he's not optimistic about Cleveland State, or he's just over that situation? Whatever might be the situation, I certainly hope Cleveland State can figure it out and be reinstated.
I mean, we saw the
and you know that kind of is a good segue that kind of is a good segue to certain comments about Real American Freestyle. Um, and it started with the this Nomad tweet, which is nonsensical. But there's also some other comments on message boards. So it's not totally about Nomad, but it's about it certainly threw fuel on the fire. And well, I'll read what Nomad said. If you don't know who Nomad is, he used to work at Flow. He says a lot of stupid shit, and this is one of them. He doesn't work at Flow no more. But he says, now that Final X is over, I would like to say I think RAF will be a complete and total failure and one of the greatest misuse of funds that could go elsewhere in this sport that we have ever seen. Those millions would be much better spent on high school and college teams. Now, there's a lot going on there, and let's first start with the fact that Nomad knows nothing about what Real American Freestyle is, or what they're going to do, or what their plans are. Can we agree with that? Right? Because no information's out. No, there's no information. Nobody knows anything about Real American Freestyle yet. So he's making this blanket assessment based on very clearly not knowing anything. And still analyzing the tweet. He says, now that Final X is over, what does Final X have to do with Real American Freestyle? What does Final X have to do with it? I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff going on there. I don't even understand the connection between Final X and Real American Freestyle. Then we get into the misuse of funds. This is all to say he doesn't know what he's talking about. But he's very clearly kind of rooting for it to not be successful, which is what I take issue with. And it couldn't be any dumber. Like what you think that donating misuse of funds. This is a corporation that's trying to make a professional league, and you think the funds would better be used being donated to a high school? I mean, just completely nonsensical. Now, but it allows me to make this point. There is nothing in wrestling that could transform the sport and promote the sport more than a professional league. Baseball has a professional league. Basketball, the biggest sports, have professional leagues. But you're rooting for this to fail? Or you don't think this is going to have as much impact? I mean, I don't understand where you're coming from. I understand the skepticism. Because every once in a while, somebody comes along and says they have the next great idea in wrestling. And they often fail to execute. And it is very often underwhelming. And it's never happened before, right? There has not been a sustainable pro league. We get that. But that is precisely what we need. There is not another factor that could elevate the sport more than having a sustainable pro league. It would not only get more eyeballs, more casual fans, but it also be a path for professionalism and opportunities for our athletes. The alternative is what we already have now, which is charity. This sport is on life support. It's run off charity. Nobody's making any money. Penn State is in the midst of a dynasty. Iowa, former dynasty. They lose money. Penn State has the biggest stable of American stars and American medalists. They don't generate revenue. This whole sport is supported by charity, by donations, by guys like Titan Mercury. That is what the alternative to not having a pro league, to not having a path forward, is to remain on welfare. This welfare system that we have. This welfare system where USA Wrestling pays the world teamer $1,500 a month. I mean, we're down 60% in the number of Division I teams since the 80s. The number of Division I programs used to be double what we have now. Now we have 77-ish. And there's a good percentage, 20, 30% of the 77 we have remaining that almost aren't competitive because they don't have the resources. And you think we should remain status quo? We got kicked out of the fucking Olympics. We got kicked out of the Olympics 9 years ago. We got kicked out of the Olympics 9 years ago. And then when we were reinstated at 60% of the existing weights. We lost almost half the weight classes. And so I'm not saying that I can sit here and guarantee that RAF or any league, but if it's going to be somebody, it's going to be RAF. I'm not saying that any league I can guarantee is going to change the world, change the game. But if you're not working for it, if you're not supporting it, you're remaining and relying on that welfare state that wrestling is in and has always been in. And I understand the skepticism. I mean, I met with the RAF people initially before the league was even announced. I met with them in Philly at NCAAs, and I heard their stuff. But like I said, I've heard a lot of stuff over the years. The next big thing. So I was skeptical. I don't blame you for being skeptical. I blame you for rooting against it. And I blame you I blame anybody for not identifying the possible game changer that this is. And then RAF called me, and I was still skeptical. And then I learned a little bit more. And then I said, all right, well, here's the questions I have. Because frankly, I'm not going to be interested unless it's legit. I'm not going to be interested unless you're doing things the right way. So I said, here's the questions I have. I said, I'm going to send you a list of the questions I have. And I came up with 50 questions. And we jumped on a call, and I was blown away by their answers. They had it figured out. It, like, way over my expectations. Pie in the sky stuff. And I'm not saying it's a guarantee. But I'm telling you, I'm pretty optimistic that this is going to be badass. This is going to be a game changer. And it's going to give our athletes a lot of opportunities. It's going to be way bigger than you think. Whatever the case is, again, I can't guarantee that it's Major League Baseball. I can't guarantee that it's UFC. But I guarantee it's bigger than what you think it's going to be.
Well, and that's part of... It's funny because with these leagues, you often hear... It doesn't tend to be universal critique and criticism. It tends to be people that you hear critique or criticism for one league or the other. And I feel like a lot of it comes from how much you know or don't know. And part of that is, listen, of course, when a new league or a new this or that is announced, you typically have limited information. So like you said, like, I don't blame the skepticism or the critique or whatever of like, well, what is this going to be? But it is a different question when you're asking like, well, why is so much money being poured into this? Well, what, like, there is something different about Real American to me, and part of that is because I know the people working on it, and I've had those conversations offline. So like, I'm super excited about it, and part of that is because how much I know, and that's where it's like when you don't know it, you know, that's where it gets interesting.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's a flow lackey, and you know, there's not a whole heck of a lot of people that are interested. There's a lot of people in wrestling that are only interested in a wrestling project if they get a slice of the pie. Mm-hmm. You know, it's cultish and it's selfishness, and you know, the fact of the matter is, we rely on the same fans. We rely on the same fans to go to the state district tournament, the state regional tournament, the state championships, the state dual tournaments. Then they're supposed to go to the Big Tens. Then they're supposed to go to Big 12s. Then they're supposed to go to NCAAs. Then they're supposed to go to the U.S. Open. Then they're supposed to go to Fargo. Then they're supposed to go to Super 32. You're relying on the same population of people to support an ecosystem. What we never do is try to put it in front of more eyeballs. It's never mainstream. So you're going to get the same group of people. You don't grow the fan base. And none of these things are revenue streams in wrestling. There's no revenue streams in wrestling. There's only charity. There's only donations. And so, I don't know. Listen, you can be optimistic. You cannot be optimistic. But one thing you should be doing, if you're of any intelligence, is rooting for it.
I think rooting for it, and I think asking questions. You know, I think I've talked to some people who are skeptical of various different leagues and up-and-coming things, and my response has been pretty typical, which is like, kind of got to wait and see what they're going to do different. Obviously, a lot of leagues have come and gone. A lot of people have thought this is the one, and I do think it's important to root for them. I also think it's, you know, asking questions, I think goes a long way.
Yeah. I mean, most people. Listen, I don't know. I don't know everything about the league. All I know is that I'm trying to help it. You know.
Listen, I'll say this. I saw. I'll give you one peek behind the curtain. They're all constantly talking about what will make this a success, what will make this work. And Willie has a doc that I wish we could share, but it's all private right now, that he was working on. And I saw him at Final X. Like, he had an idea. Like, you know what?
You were peeking at my screen?
Yeah. Thank God it was nothing that was inappropriate. So when I'm watching him, like, he sees something happen in a match that gives him a thought, and like, you know what? This is what we need to do to make it a success. This is what we need to do to make it a success. There's a lot of active work to try to take all the things that has not worked in a pro league, in a professional approach to freestyle wrestling. And I'll tell you, I see the things that like Willie's putting on this doc, and I'm like, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. And I'm not saying that to toot Willie's horn. I'm saying, like, there's a lot of thought going into it, and it's not just an oblivious, well, this is going to work because I'm involved. Like, everybody involved with Real American Freestyle Wrestling is very aware of why leagues have failed, why professional aspects of freestyle wrestling have not worked, and they're trying to get ahead of that, and I'm excited about it. The things I've seen, which I've made a note of some of the things that I think are very exciting, that when we do get to talk about it, I'm going to go back and tell you guys the things, but Based on what I've seen, like this is not your standard approach, and I'm very
No,
excited
and
for the potential.
you know, I think I have a pretty good grasp on. I don't think like I'm not saying that it's going to win because I'm involved. It, like let's take. Don't say I'm standing for this new league because I'm involved, and I wouldn't be if I wasn't involved. I'm telling you, it has nothing to do with me. I'm telling you, these guys are so far above and beyond the connections that they have and the infrastructure that they have and the plans that they have. I mean, these are professional businessmen. This is not a fan. Or this is not even like a billionaire with a passion. These are businessmen that are connected.
I'll give you another piece of intel. So I wanted Real Woods to come on before Final X. I'll try to have him on now that Final X is done, but I wanted him to come on leading up to Final X. I thought Real and Joey was a very interesting matchup, and I've had Joey on before. I wanted to have Real on. And Real said, can we do it after Final X? He's like, I'm getting ready to lock in, and I've been doing so much media and content stuff with Real American that I want to get locked in and dialed in now for Final X. And I'm like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
One of the things that I don't like about what a lot of leagues that have tried to do stuff is the lack of not just matchmaking, but brand building and storytelling. And that's one thing that really interests me about Eric Bischoff being involved in this is, for those who maybe don't know, like when WWF and WCW were going back and forth in Monday Night Wars, like Bischoff was leading the charge, making WCW compete with WWF. And why did he do that? Storytelling. And so Bischoff's very smart. And I think the fact that Real American is already working with wrestlers involved in the league, with creating so much content and storytelling, the writing's on the wall for me of that's a good idea, that's what you should be doing, more so than a red flag as to why something may not work. Like the more I see, the more I intrigue me. Like if you're going to make a professional aspect of freestyle wrestling work, you need the storytelling aspect. You need to tell the story of Kennedy Blades, of Real Woods, of these top wrestlers. And I think they're doing a great professional job at that based on what I've seen with a peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing things right. They're doing things as good or better in every single aspect. They check every single box. And so I can't imagine, again, no guarantees. I can't imagine that there has ever been a better opportunity and a better effort and a better group of guys to put a league together that will work and be sustainable. I mean, they're doing an incredible job. And then, listen, I would say that if I was gone tomorrow. So that's it. That's my thing.
And by the way, like to be clear, I'm not taking a shot at any other league. I'm not taking a shot at Claw or what anybody else is doing. I don't know as much about what they're doing because I'm not as involved and I don't have a peek behind the curtain like I do with Real American. So I'm just speaking from a Real American standpoint. What I see there.
Yeah. Well, like I said, root for it to work because it'll be good for us.
I am a Real American.
When are we gonna do another show? Can we do how about Thursday or Friday? We do a live show.
Yep, that's the game plan. I think we'll do a live show later in the week. Maybe we'll even bring on some Final X winners, maybe a Final X loser or two. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, let's do a show later in the week. And there,
I like live. I want to talk to the people.
Yeah, the problem with Willie kind of wanted to do this one live, and I know a lot of the fans like it when it's live. It's also harder on the shows where we're recapping and giving takeaways from an event to not get distracted by just wanting. So it's like, let's do this one. It's kind of recapping the weekend. And then Thursday or Friday, we'll do a WBRN 103.69, The Brain. And maybe we'll tell some more stories from Final X because there's more. There's some more stories.
Literally, my phone is blowing up with RAF stuff right now.
So maybe we'll save it for the next show.
Yeah.
But the funniest thing, one final little Final X tidbit. It was hilarious watching you ask coaches who they're calling on June 15th yesterday, and coaches basically admitting that they have to call certain kids because you put it in your article. Like, who should this school call?
Yeah.
I won't name names, but it was funny watching that play out. Like, who you calling? What do you mean? You told me who I have to call.
Yeah, it's been so busy with Final X and stuff. I haven't gotten all my calls in to coaches and to kids to see who got called and who called who, and I got to get on top of that. But 2028 big board is up. Best incoming freshman will be posted later in the week, and then this weekend is junior duels, and we just came off cadet duels. So regular rankings will be updated next week. So a lot of good stuff coming.
All right, that's the show. Subscribe for
All right.
more. We'll be back
Go
soon.
Bills.
By the way, I saw at an airport. I saw JFK. Shout out JFK. There was a guy heading back. It was funny because there was a flight to Rochester, Buffalo, and Syracuse all heading out, and in the middle you had a guy wearing a shirt that said, "Be good, do good, go Bills, God bless." I'm gonna have to buy the shirt for you. All right, go Bills.